The following episode contains mature themes and strong language. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to History and Mystery in Kansas City, the history podcast about all things unsolved and unexplained in Kansas City and the surrounding areas. I am Laura.
I am Talia.
This is episode 8 and part 2. And we are continuing our discussion about Lorenzo Gilyard.
Yeah.
So we are going to kind of reiterate some things just so we can recap what happened in the last episode.
Yeah.
So if you have not listened to that,
There was a lot that happened in
there
that
was a
last
lot.
one.
It was a little squirrely. I did end up editing it where it sounded kind of cohesive.
A lot happened.
So it
There was
doesn't
a
sound,
lot of
it doesn't
fun
sound
things.
terrible.
Well, hey, you do pretty good. You do very well.
So in this episode, we'll be discussing the DNA evidence, the trial, and maybe potential victims that we don't know much about, unfortunately, but
So we do know that this particular individual in jail is
isn't.
Right. It's a callback to a movie, Idiocracy. It's such a good film.
Oh, haven't seen that for
About
you.
a particular individual in jail. So, we did learn at one point he did live in Los Angeles,
Yes.
and upon copious amounts of research, sadly, I was not able to find any possible data from his zip code that he lived in, because the two addresses that we had found online, nothing. They don't
Yeah.
exist.
I don't know where those came from.
I have no idea, but they do not exist. So I just took the generic zip code, which they both happen to be in, which I believe was 90059. And I did a basic Google search. I shouldn't say basic because I did spend some time on this. I couldn't find any unsolved strangulations.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's because a different murderer just said that those were his.
Yeah,
Because
could
there
be.
was one murderer during that time period, one serial killer who has claimed over 90 kills.
Oh, I was reading about that, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's just claiming other people's kills just to get clout, or if he genuinely did all of those murders, because holy...
Yeah, what was the
I
name of
went
that one?
to-
It's like the... something about numbers or counts or... Yeah, it's like the Statistics Strangler or something stupid. 'Cause, yeah, I was reading about that. And that...
That one was Samuel Little.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
90. He has confessed to 93 murderers.
I wonder how accurate his, like,
Yeah, that's
confession was and all that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he
And
probably
they-
was just, they're like, did you do this one? He's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, I killed a lot of people. Let's tack this.
Yeah, how would you
And-
remember
Yeah. and
after
like,
98 people?
93, I think. is
93,
yeah.
whatever.
How do we know that Gillard's didn't kill several of those people?
Hmm.
And this guy was just like, hey, I'll take it. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They like the notoriety, so
They
that's
like the-
very possible.
All of them. Some of them. I mean, we have to remember Gillard is like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't do any of them.
I don't even know these people.
I slept with him, but I don't know. I've never met him before.
Yeah.
One of these things is not like the other. But so that's the hard part, was like trying to get actual details of all of, like, I could have looked up a list of all of the deaths
Mhm.
in that area from 91 to 93, but 91 alone was over 1,000 deaths in that zip
Shit.
code.
Yeah.
And well, in Los Angeles, that's not even that zip code. So I would need to like look at that list and scroll through and be like, is this the right zip code? Is this the right like, way, what's it, calling card?
Yeah.
No, and that would have taken far too long that of time I sadly did not have.
Yeah.
So we can't confirm any deaths in his 3-year span that he was in Los Angeles. That would have been fantastic, just to be able to look and be like, hey, whoa, but
Yeah.
I think he'll have to get away with those.
Yeah. So just to recap, he was accused of raping 5 people in the span of like 4 years and did 9 months in jail. And
Only
then,
because one of them was a child.
Yeah. And then he assaulted his ex-wives on multiple occasions and got probation, but was set free for, like, he was put on probation, so he didn't serve any time. And one of those attacks was stabbing his ex-wife in the hand with an ice pick, which, to me, I will post.
I don't know how they didn't get stronger charges on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I found the flow chart from Missouri's court website or whatever on how they determine if it's 1st degree, 3rd degree, whatever. And I think it should have been 2nd degree. Because it's only 1st if there's a gun involved.
Which is stupid. That's so dumb.
Yeah. But yeah, so he got off scot-free.
Guns. God.
I know. Like, an ice pick is still a weapon.
You could kill people with anything. A baseball bat,
scissors,
a picture frame, you name it. Like, it's insane.
And the cops, he started killing all these people, and the cops did not think there was any link between any of the victims until 1994.
Yeah, with the car.
That was actually before that. That was in 87. They still didn't think it was linked to anyone else. Yeah. What? So he started in 1977 and killed, let's see, he killed all of them before 94, so.
You know what this is kind of reminding me of?
What?
I just saw this movie on, I want to say it was Netflix, about, and this was all a real thing, about this guy who went around the country raping people. And one of the people was basically forced to tell the cops that she lied about her rape and everything. And then they 5 years later that they actually caught the guy because he was using tactics to avoid the police recognizing, like, he would only do one in each district. So each district was only looking for this one guy, and they weren't communicating with each other. And then just by coincidence, they did. That's what sounds like is happening here.
Except it's in one.
Except it's all in one. Nobody was talking to each other. Nobody was confirming anything with each other.
Well, I think they were. I think they just didn't care because
he was killing prostitutes.
Because they were prostitutes and
people of color.
I don't know. And I mean, because
you would have thought that after that one victim that was in their 30s and was white, that they would have been like, this doesn't match.
Yeah. Catherine Barry. She was a white woman. She was twice as old as the previous victims. She was white. They were black at first. And she was not a prostitute. She was just mentally ill.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as to say mentally ill. I think they just had a mental breakdown.
She had a mental breakdown and
she just went on a walk and did not come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sad thing.
Unfortunately, she was just in the area of where prostitutes had worked, and
it's the only kill he actually tried to hide. Well, couldn't say the only because he did try to hide one in a car. So.
Oh yeah, that's true. Another white female, but she was a prostitute. That was confirmed. So I don't know.
Yeah. It was GTAing before GTA came out.
Ah.
Grand Theft Auto.
Oh.
Like, one of the things that you do in that game is
Leave
like
dead bodies.
Well, you can sleep with hookers in that game too. And then if you kill the hooker, like you don't have to pay, you get that money back. Sometimes you get more.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's exact. Wonder if that's where they got the idea.
So 1994, they basically forensically link 2 victims together. So I don't know which ones. I could not find that. But that's when they were like, oh, light bulb moment. Maybe all of these 13 people.
I think it was that they started with that last, the last one, which was a friend of his
Connie
child.
Luther.
Yeah, a child of his friend.
That was a rape victim back in like.
No, right, but the
70.
last one was the last murder victim was also someone that he knew.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that
Connie
was the
Luther
case.
Was the last one in 93. It was a white female.
Why am I thinking?
I don't know, 29 years old. She was a prostitute.
Maybe
You're
that's
thinking
how
of the rape victim that was a family friend's daughter.
I just maybe they tied that to the last one, and then
I didn't read anything about them taking DNA on her, so I don't know.
I don't know. My brain is
because I feel like if they would have taken DNA on her, they would have been testing, like doing a rape kit.
Yeah.
And it sounded like they didn't even do that because he only got like sexual acts with a minor as his charge. He didn't get rape or sexual assault even, really.
I don't know. I don't remember where I heard that was where they tied it, but my brain is telling me that that's where they tied it.
It could be. I don't know. It was just so long ago. Oh, my husband's home.
Exciting.
Dogs are happy. So
I'm not sure where they tied it then.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't find out who it was that they linked together. There was really little to no news coverage on the victims, except to say that they were mostly sex workers or...
Yeah, I think one of them only had like 105 words.
Yeah. It was just like, this lady's dead. She was a prostitute. And I'm going back and reading all these newspapers, and I hate reading them because in all of them, all of these cases, it seems like they'll list their name, their age, where they were found, and that they were a prostitute. Like, that shouldn't matter.
That shouldn't matter.
I guess, it helps give an MO because he does target those people,
But you could put that
people
way later in the thing. It doesn't have to be like word number 5.
Or it could be alleged, or she was in that area, or something like that. And so,
especially since several of the kills weren't prostitutes,
right?
Like,
yeah, they weren't. Yeah. And I was reading another case about another serial killer, and I was reading an article from like the 90s again, and it was kind of the same way, except it listed their previous drug charges from the victims. It's like, why would you list that?
Well, you shouldn't care about who this person was because they were a drug addict who happened to be a prostitute.
Yeah.
They owed about $553,000 to this drug lord here who probably is whatever.
Yeah.
And they have 5 unpaid parking tickets, so you should not care about them at all.
Yeah, I don't understand why they put that stuff in there. But anyway. So the crime lab eventually used DNA to link all 13 victims with either semen, saliva, or hair to Lorenzo Gilyard. And they analyzed the sample that was taken from him in 1987 from when he was questioned in the murder of Sheila Ingold. And that's the one that was found in the van. Okay, so basically that's what we covered in the last episode. So I wanted to explain a little bit more about the DNA from the hair because, like, that's what I went to school for, and you get me talking about forensics, and I just love it.
Educate us.
I'm going to quote something from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety in Minnesota.
Okay.
Because they word it really well. So, An investigator may find a hair on a crime victim's genes. If the hair is consistent with that of the suspect, that may provide evidence of an association between suspect and victim. But that's not all. Trace evidence laboratories can also determine whether the hair is suitable for nuclear DNA analysis. And nuclear means that they analyze the nucleus of the cell, which is the very center of the DNA cell, which has both father and mother DNA in there, the Y and X and everything. And to be analyzed in that way, the hair has to have the root or tissue still attached. If it does, it gets sent to the laboratory, and you can perform that nucleus. You can perform the nuclear DNA. If there's no tissue or no root attached, the DNA lab can still do a mitochondrial DNA, which is done by examining the cell's mitochondria, which is basically like if you picture an egg, you crack an egg into a pan. The white part has the mitochondria and the yellow part is the nucleus. So the outside. So there's actually a lot more mitochondria, but it's only from the mother. So you can trace to your mother's line. So either way, it can help link a suspect, or it's really good at excluding people. So say that you have a suspect who is a Caucasian man, and the hairs that you find on the body are Asian, from an Asian person, they will look completely different under the microscope. So you can tell sort of race kind of under there. It depends. If there's a lot of mixing and stuff, it gets harder, of course, but so they're different shapes. So basically, Asian hair is like completely round. A cross-section of Asian hair is almost perfectly round. And then Caucasian is more oval-shaped, and African-American is more like capsule or...
Okay.
Yeah, capsule-shaped.
Yeah.
And then they look different in the striations and everything of the hair. So under the microscope, you can pretty clearly see a difference. So back then, they didn't have the DNA, but they could look under the microscope and say, this is definitely the hair of an African-American male, but they couldn't link anything yet, like DNA-wise. In 2001, the Kansas City Police Department received a multi-million-dollar federal grant aimed at re-examining cold cases with DNA.
That's a lot of money, even back then.
Yes. And they had 600 unsolved rapes and murder at the time. Detectives narrowed it down to 85 cases that showed promise. And one of them was the murder of Naomi Kelly, which was one of his victims. She was murdered in 1986. They spent 13 months examining all this DNA, and they put in 2,500 hours of overtime, nights, weekends.
That's a lot.
Doing all this DNA testing, because there's a lot of murders in Kansas City during this time, in the previous years, especially like between the 70s. From the 70s to the 90s, late 90s was just, it was like an epidemic in Kansas City, honestly. So they finally found that the DNA had matched, like I said, all 13 victims. And then on June 23rd, 2006, the results of the DNA also matched Gilyard to the 87 victim of Helga Kruger. So that was much later. Gilyard was arrested at a North Kansas City Denny's on 4/20. I wonder if he had smoking a bowl at Denny's. He's always claimed his innocence, which I find hilarious. because there's so much
evidence to suggest the opposite.
Yeah. In a telephone conversation with his relatives, he consistently claimed his innocence and said, quote, "I know I couldn't get convicted for something I didn't do," in one of the phone calls to his family.
I knew I couldn't get convicted. Who else does that sound like? Oh my goodness.
Who? Like everybody.
You know, just somebody in particular. Recent news.
I don't watch the news. Every time you bring up something, I'm like, what?
I keep forgetting you're not a news person. Somebody was just recently convicted of 34 federal crimes.
Trump?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he kept claiming that he was innocent and that he couldn't get convicted of something that he didn't do. And it's like, you guys obviously don't know how the justice system works. Like,
yeah.
Look at the evidence, look at the proof, and if there is no reasonable doubt that you did it, you're going to get you for it. Like,
right.
And Gilyard, you had so much going against you. I mean, even just we remember, like, oh, I didn't meet them, but your lawyer says you did, and that you slept with them, but that you did not do anything with them, and that somebody else waited until after you slept with each in single one and then murdered them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's likely story.
Yeah.
There's no reasonable person on earth that would go, oh, yeah, that could happen.
Yeah. In the fall of 2006, the judge, John O'Malley, threw out a lot of the evidence against Gilyard because of what he called was sloppy police work from the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department.
Yep, they did. Actually, I will clearly say they did a very sloppy job at this.
Yeah.
They should have found him a lot sooner.
Yeah. He should have been in jail after the rapes back in 74 or whenever that was. And then none of these murders would happen.
Yeah, all these people would still be alive to this day.
I mean, yeah.
Unless somebody else tragically did something or they got in an accident or something. But
yeah,
most of them would probably be alive today.
Yeah. Can you imagine, like, how much of this would just not have happened because they did their jobs in the first place?
Yeah. It would have been insane. Like, I 100% agree. Like, judge saying, y'all did sloppy work. But I mean, if they had kept all that evidence and threw it into the court system, I don't remember what they said was terrible police work. I mean, we all know it was, but like, what work they did throw out, how many more years could they have thrown him in behind bars? What other convictions could they have made against this horrible, horrible individual?
And are some of the victims that we're going to go over, are they possibly connected to him, but they just did such shitty police work that we'll never know?
We'll never know.
That's probably the case.
Sadly, that's probably and for all we know, that is exactly what it is, because there's no way we can find what evidence they threw out.
Right.
And for all we know, there are plenty of more people that even raped. Not necessarily killed, but just raped.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't know.
There's probably so many more victims out there.
So many. Come forward.
I'm sorry. Did you want to go over to the trial? I'm just like talking and talking.
Oh, I'm fine either way.
Okay.
June 23rd, 2016, the following result of a DNA analysis. As you already mentioned, he was charged with the additional murder of Kruger. And in early 2007, prosecutors charged the Kansas City Strangler, who I still think is phenomenal. And we wouldn't have gone down this track if it wasn't for The Office, because of the Scranton Strangler. I wouldn't have even thought about this.
He's been on my radar for over a year.
Oh, I did not.
So I wanted to start the podcast a year ago.
Oh, well, here we are. Look at this. Progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so early 2007, prosecutors charged the Kansas City Strangler with 7 counts of first-degree murder. He chose to prosecute him for 7 of the murders, all from his spree from 86 to 87. The victims, obviously, Ann Barnes, Catherine Berry, Kelly Ford, Carmeline Hibbs, Sheila Ingold, Naomi Kelly, and Angela Mayhew. DNA from semen evidence. DNA from semen evidence linked Gilyard to 6 of the 7 women, and Harriet provided the evidence in the murder of Mayhew. Out of the 13 total murders he was initially arrested for, the prosecutor dropped 6 counts and agreed not to seek the death penalty because cases were not as strong. So 6 murders were dropped.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, but...
Yeah. And maybe some of those people that we think he may have killed are of those 6, because it's not specified on who those 6 were.
No, it's our original 13 that we talked about last time.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It was just 6 of those 13.
But they weren't quite as strong. I personally think prosecutors need to have more cojones. They may not be as strong, but even a not guilty plea from the jury is better than, because it's at least on record and it's in the courts, and you let the people decide versus saying, oh, well, there was like a 5% chance it wasn't him. Like 5%.
I think that they just didn't want to introduce any doubt, is my thought on it. So, reasonable doubt, you don't want any of that. So
then what they could have done is charged him and prosecuted him for these 7 that they did initially, and then gone back and just added do an additional prosecution for them. That
would be good. They should do that.
Because you can do that and be like, hey, we now have evidence of these additional murders that you may have committed. Throw that, toss in a new jury, see how we're going. Because you ain't going anywhere, you're in prison.
Yeah. And that I know that Angela Mayhew was the one that they dropped pretty much last minute because basically she didn't have any semen found on her. It was just
the hair.
His hair. Yeah. And so it wasn't as strong.
I still think that, because here's the thing, right? You're not just prosecuting him for justice in the court of law and then bringing a law. You're also getting a finality for the families.
Yeah.
And a closure for them saying, hey, what does the jury say? And when you drop 6 murders, those 6 families are now going to go, but did he do it?
Right.
What? We need closure, and you're just dropping the ball at that point.
Yeah.
So I personally believe they should have gone, what they should have done is said, all right, these are our 6 strongest or 7 strongest cases. Let's start with these, and then we'll go back and prosecute him for these once he's behind bars. Because at that point, he's already in jail for the rest of his life. But now you're just saying, let's get some closure for the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally believe that they did an injustice to the families of those victims. In exchange, they asked for the serial killer's defense to accept a trial in front of a judge. Oh, right. Without a jury.
Yeah.
So they just, in my mind, they just said, no families get their justice. I mean, I guess in some sense those families get some justice, but still, that's not the same.
At least they can feel better knowing he's behind bars.
Yeah.
At least.
The judge found him guilty on 6 counts, sentencing him to life in presence. You have to live in the presence. You can't dwell on the past. Sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The prosecutor said in opening statements, let's see if I can do this. All the victims have several things in common. All were found dead with the same 1.5-year period. All were left in secluded or obstructed locations. All were strangled. All showed signs that they were involved in a struggle. All were missing their shoes, and all but one showed distinct signs of sexual intercourse. The 7 bodies from the cases in this trial were found shoeless.
Mm-hmm.
Serial killers often take souvenirs. So when police searched Gilyard's house in 2004, my brain is slowly shutting down. They looked for the shoes. Oh gosh. my brain just, when reading that, was just like a bunch of like drag officers searching this dude's closet for just, where are the shoes? I'm sorry, my brain is a little weird today. They found none.
Yeah.
They didn't find any. Probably because he didn't keep them.
But why wouldn't he keep them if he took them?
What if he just took them and got rid of them? I don't know.
Why? I mean, serial killers take trophies for a reason, and
unless he didn't take them as trophies, but as a calling card. He didn't care about the shoes, and then when he found out that his calling card was a foot fetish, he was like, I gotta leave the shoes on this one and take all the clothes except for the shoes. And then people were like, he's just a pervert. And then he just went spiraling. So they didn't find any shoes. What happened to the shoes remains a mystery. I think I solved that. He threw them away. Does he have a hidey hole that has not been found by the police? I can reread that because my brain is okay.
It sounded like a 1930s detective.
What happened to the shoes remains a mystery. Does he have a hidey hole that has not been found by the police? Find out next time. I didn't see him throwing. You don't see them throwing them away. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally think he did. I think it was a calling card thing more than a trophy. But I genuinely think that the reason he took them was as a calling card. It kind of, in my mind, I also look back towards like movies and comics and stuff. And most of the time, serial killers would either leave a calling card or would take it for a souvenir. And I guess that that's a huge thing in reality. But I would assume, like in comics and in movies and stuff, they would do it as a calling card. For instance, in Daredevil, Kingpin would leave roses to every person that he killed, blood roses, or look back at Home Alone, the wet, soggy bandits. You know, I don't think he was known as the Kansas Strangler, but how did you know it was the Kansas City Strangler? He took the shoes.
Because there were like 5 or 6 other serial killers in Kansas City at the same time. So yeah, maybe he had to find a way to distinguish himself.
He needed some kind of recognition, and if he was in a rush after killing them because of, oh shit, someone could see me, what's the easiest thing to take? Shoes. Quick, just pop them off. Or if they were high heels, to cut them off with a little knife. You cut off the strap and then just pull them off. Oh, where am I? Okay, defense attorney. I'm not going to even pronounce this guy's name because it looks like it would be French.
Jacquinot?
Argued, Thomas Jacquinot, who AI fixed this in post, argued that Gilyard, who admitted to being a frequent customer of prostitutes, could have been a foil for a murderer who came along after he had sex with the women. But during closing arguments, the prosecutor countered, saying the odds of some unknown person shadowing the defendant and killing those women immediately after he had sex with them defies logic.
Yeah.
Which 100% true. And what reality is this a thing? And why him, of all people, would he be following? Right? Like, he's not of any person of political influence or anything else like that. There would be no sense to do. If it was someone who had some kind of connection to the community or could be easily blackmailed or something like that, okay. But
maybe they were like, you forgot to pick up my trash on Monday.
But these murders started before he was a trash man, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so...
Never mind.
Yeah. Sex workers told the police they were scared of Gilyard, and Gilyard now insists that he never met any of these women, and in fact will whine like a little baby if you ask him questions about, why did your lawyer say this? A professor of criminology at the University of Central Florida by the name of Ray Surrett agreed that the Midwest location of the murder spree and low social status of the prostitutes were the factors of the story's low profile. The police didn't seem to care, the news stations didn't seem to care, and Gilyard certainly didn't care. Some other victims that could have been done we have a list of, and I'll let you take care on this one because this one's you found these precious gems of people, and I will let you shine the light on these potential victims.
And I will post the Kansas City Star article where I found this, and if you look at our YouTube, it is already in the
description.
Episode 1, part 1. I show it in the YouTube video. So, and I highlight and tell you what colors mean what. So you can kind of follow along if you watch that, or if you're watching that right now, I guess.
Hey, well, if they're watching that right now, how are they hearing this now?
Oh, never mind. I'm going to edit that out. Maybe it. Well, keep it. It's fine. I don't like it. Jacqueline Parker, 27-year-old black female, strangled, and she was found January 5th, 1977. She was an alleged Prospect Avenue prostitute, and that's all I could find on her was that information in the Kansas City Star, and then I did find her find a grave, but there wasn't much any additional information on there. Mm-hmm. The rest of these individuals actually...
Is this where it starts to get more emotional? Like, this is where it's going to start. Because I'm looking at the list and...
yeah, it's terrible.
Oh, my goodness.
The rest of these victims that I'm going to list, I could not find much on at all. No find a grave sites, no memorials, anything, no obituaries, nothing. So what I read here is what I know. Elsina White, 17-year-old black female, strangled, found August 10th, 77, alleged Troost Avenue prostitute. Regina Jones, 21-year-old black female, strangled, found October 24th, 1978. She was an alleged Troost Avenue prostitute.
I think alleged is also...
Oh, yeah, I don't ever know how to say.
I think it's like a tomato kind of thing.
Rianne Vaughn, 17-year-old black female, strangled. She was found July 7th, 1980. She was an alleged Troost Avenue prostitute. Marilyn Taylor, 60-year-old white female, strangled, found March 26, 86. She did frequent areas used by prostitutes, but she was not one herself. She was a homeless person who lived in the shelter, so she was just in that area. Mm-hmm. Brenda Darden, 31-year-old black female, strangled. June 24th, 86 is when she was found. She frequented areas used by prostitutes. Nikki Ergovic, 30-year-old white female, strangled, found September 23rd, 87, alleged Main Street prostitute.
Yeah, before we go into that next one, this is tragic. Mm-hmm. If these are additional, one of them was 60 and two of them were 17.
Yeah.
That's
a big gap.
That's not only a big gap, but come on. Two of them were just starting life. Mm-hmm. And one was just probably trying to get through and just relax for the rest of their time.
Right.
Oh.
And I should point out that, like I said, there's not much information. So because I couldn't find anything else, I don't know if they were missing their shoes. I don't know, if they were sexually assaulted. I don't know if they were posed in a suggestive way or
because they didn't give any information when they wrote it.
Yeah, so it's unclear. I just list them because with the timeline and everything, he was out of out of jail during these times. And so I feel like it is completely possible that he did these.
Yeah.
But like I said, there was 6 or 7 other serial killers in the area at this time. So
anything's
maybe
possible.
not.
But
Anything's possible.
what about that? I remember you were telling me about this one that wasn't found in Kansas?
Oh, yeah. Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to...
Yeah.
I cut you off before you got to that one
no,
because I wanted to talk about those ages.
In 1987, Paula Davis was found dumped in Ohio. She is a suspected victim of Gilyard's, but she has also not been confirmed. She was found without her shoes. It's unknown if there's been any DNA testing or anything like that, but the police have listed him as a suspect in her murder. And she was dumped in Ohio, but she did live in Kansas City. So
maybe he was trying to spread the thing so that...
dump somewhere else.
This was also during... Because what year was that?
87.
What year was the car thing?
87.
Interesting.
So started changing stuff up.
Yeah, he was like, they're onto me.
Yeah.
I got this one extra body. I got to drive it across town. By town, I mean country.
Yeah.
A couple states over and drop it there. See if maybe they think that person's moving up that way.
Yeah. Oh, and then none of these victims that I just read are listed on the Kansas City Police Unsolved Homicide website. And so I found that strange and very sad. But I was listening to a podcast and they were saying that apparently they have called the police and talked to them about their cold cases. And they said that sometimes if the police have a suspect in mind, they don't put them on the unsolved website. So it could be that they do have a suspect in mind and maybe it is Gilyard and that's why they're not on the website.
That might be it, especially if they're like, well, we know it was probably Gilyard and he's already in jail for the rest of his life, so why? But I go back. This isn't just about getting them behind bars.
Yeah.
It's closure for the families and friends of the people that knew them.
And if you're not sure, like if they're not being prosecuted for these crimes, keep them on the website so people like us can find links and patterns and
be like,
spread the word.
Hey, we give you hints and say, we think that this might be the case. This is the evidence that we have. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
We may not be paid investigators, but sometimes cold cases get solved by the public.
Right. So I don't get why they take them off of the website. That's really sad to me. Okay, and then there's also a few victims that could be his, but again, not much is known about their cases. They were all alleged prostitutes. They were all found with their hands tied. All but one were found nude from the waist down, but not sexually assaulted.
That's a little interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't fully fit his MO.
Not fully, but the first girl on this list was connected to him with DNA.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So her name is Gwendolyn Kazine. She has been connected to him through DNA. So these other ones could be. She was 15. Yeah. The Kansas City Star dubbed these murders the tied up murders, and they occurred all between 1980 and 1984. So the first one was Gwendolyn. She's already been linked to him. So that was on the last episode if you want to listen to about her case. Second one is Dorothy Fisher, 22-year-old black female, strangled, found November 12th, 1980. This one has been linked to a man named Dawood Abdel Malik, and he is in prison for this. The rest of them are unsolved, and so these are the names that I'm going to focus on. Janice Moore, 20-year-old black female, strangled, found December 19th, 82 at 45th and Rock Hill. Sherry Hall, 17, black female, strangled, found May 20th of 83. Jacqueline Davis, 26, black female, strangled, found June 6th, 83. Angela Oliver, 24-year-old black female, found strangled. June
25th.
June 10th, 83.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm one ahead of you.
Terry Allen, 16, black female, strangled, found June 25th, 83. Cheryl Saunders, 26-year-old black female, strangled, found January 7th, 84. And Susan Green, 20-year-old black female, strangled, found January 27th, 84.
Interesting.
Now, the last two in 1984, he was for sure incarcerated. So
it's not the last two.
Not the last two, but Terry Allen, Angela Oliver, Jacqueline Davis, Sherry Hall, and Janice Moore. I don't know if he was out on probation or out on parole at that time, or if he was for sure incarcerated. I tried to look it up. I could not find a definite answer. All I know is he was paroled January of 83, and then he was arrested at some point and was not released until 85, late 85.
Well, definitely the right age range.
Yep.
Obviously strangled. So all his MO.
And they're all in the same general area.
All general area of prostitutes.
And if you sign up to our Patreon, you can have access to my map I'm creating, which is a serial killer map, basically.
It's insane.
And
it's insane.
You can see where they all line up. You can compare the unsolved to Gilyard's known victims, where they were found. And a lot of these are in that same general area.
I have no idea how he got away for so long other than incompetent work.
Yeah.
Incompetency.
It's the word of the day.
Incompetency.
Yep.
It's kind of sad, like, how many people pass on because they couldn't get because they didn't want to get their shit together.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it, is they didn't want to. They didn't want to solve these crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Their job was being done for them.
Right. They don't want to deal with prostitutes.
They don't want to have to deal with it. Which, funnily enough, if you even look at where things have gone today, there are already a lot of people trying to push for prostitution to be legalized.
Yeah.
And to have things in place so that it's safer, because
yeah,
I mean,
it's just like abortions.
Yeah,
you make it illegal, and people are going to do it anyway.
It's going to be unsafe.
It's going to be unsafe, and a lot of people are going to die.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
if these women want to do it because they want to do it,
right,
let them.
Yeah,
but make it safer for them.
What's the thing that the Joker says? If you're good at doing something, don't do it for free. That's not. I mean, that's paraphrasing, but
right.
Like, some people are really good at that, I guess. But like, additionally, like, it's a very lucrative industry.
Mm-hmm.
Very lucrative industry. And if you want not to have pimps and stuff on the street and all that stuff, then it's simple. Put the power and control of those employees.
Yeah.
You know, and let them do their thing. But that it's one of those things where it's a growing industry in a weird way to say. But at what cost of getting... there's a difference between cleaning up the streets of prostitution legally and just not caring about the people. Because you could do that in a way, be like, hey, well, what are you trying to save up for? Why are you doing this job? Is it for drug money? Is it because of just trying to pay bills and all these other things? Okay, well, let's have systems in place to get people off the streets.
Well, yeah.
And help them get the additional income that they would do to keep them off the streets. And put programs in place for that. And it's kind of a travesty that we have had police back then, because I'm a strong supporter of like the blue and doing things especially when they do things right. I personally don't believe that there's enough recognition for police and all these other things. I genuinely believe that they get a lot more hate than they deserve in some cases. And then you have these situations and these scenarios and these incompetent, careless, hateful people that shine through and just give people a terrible name and give them a terrible name. And that's not right and that's not fair. And the families of these victims deserve more than what they received from our justice system.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, I went on a tangent.
No, you're good.
This is the second time. These last two episodes have just gotten me carried away. I wonder what happened.
It's fine. Yeah, and so just to go back to the Patreon map, if you get on there and look, and it is a work in progress, but if you get on there and look and see, I know of this serial killer that's not listed on here, let me know. Or, different cases, just let me know. I'm also going to start one for unidentified bodies.
Yes. The map is amazing. When you sent it to me, I was like, this is the coolest thing. Remember, I was like, I didn't know you could do this.
Yeah.
I was like, this is insane.
I've been looking for a map like that for a year and have never been able to find one. So I'm like, I'll just freaking make my own.
Hey.
So, and then you can only put so many filters and so much data on one map. So I did start a second one. So the first one is from like 1970 to 1999. And then I started a new one from 2000 to current. And then I'll probably start another one for like unidentified and missing, maybe.
This is just all for Gilyard?
No.
Oh,
for
in general.
Yes, in general. So
a lot of data.
I have like 6 or 7 serial killers listed on there, where their addresses are, where their victims are, known victims. And then, yeah.
A lot of data.
It is. Yeah. Oh. That's all I have.
That's all I have.
It's a lot.
Yeah, 2 episodes on Gilyard. Oh gosh, he deserves a lot less of our time.
But a lot of this focus is mainly for the victims. Like, we don't want to
the victims
pay attention to the Gilyard.
The victims deserved all this extra time,
and some of these women have basically been forgotten. There's nothing in the papers about them. It's just
an injustice.
It's very sad, and they need to get their name out, whether they're Gilyard's victims or not. Like,
somebody else's victims.
They might not be. Yeah, who knows? But we do this for the victims, and that's why I started this. So
for the victims and for the stories to tell everybody, hey, keep your eyes out.
Yeah. So if you have any information about that, about potential victims from Gilyard, or, maybe there's some rape victims out there that have not come forward, come forward.
Or if you were alive during that time and you remember hearing about these things in the news, what stood out to you? Like, were there additional things that we missed in this that were covered in the news that we just didn't see? Let us know.
Yes. So I would love to know if there's any additional information. If any of you have the deets on his probation and parole times that I could not find, please let me know. I would be really curious to know.
Or if you're in LA and somehow hearing this and you're like, this sounds a lot like some of these random murders from these 3 years, 91, 92, and 93.
Yes.
Let us know.
Yes, please.
Please.
So visit our Facebook group. Facebook is History and Mystery KC Go check out the YouTube, which is History and Mystery in Kansas City. And you can basically see these episodes with pictures. And join the Patreon. It's $2 a month. You get access to the murder maps. You get access to bonus content, bonus episodes. And it is real fun. And there's a chat in there. You can chat with us. Yeah.
get crazy on some of our bonus episodes.
Yeah, they're fun. The fun ones are on there.
My first appearance was on the bonus.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So in the meantime, stay aware, alert, and alive. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.